there's multiple people within our organization who are providing that seeker support post-graduation, because really the goal, I think, for everyone on our team at NSS is for our students to get that job and to land that first position.
You are listening to Stories from the Hackery, a podcast about the students, alumni, and community members that continue to shape Nashville Software School. NSS is the nation's first nonprofit coding bootcamp, where anyone with aptitude and motivation can gain the skills needed for a career in tech. For more information, visit NashvilleSoftwareSchool.com. Hello and welcome back to Stories from the Hackery, the official Nashville Software School podcast. Today we are talking with two very important people to the team at Nashville Software School. We are talking to Ashley Canino and Michael Frieh of our career development team. Something that sets Nashville Software School apart from a traditional 2 or 4 year college or even other virtual boot camps is our career development team. And we're going to get to talk to them about what it is they do for our students, the services they provide, and the track that our students go through with them during their time at NSS. So I want to welcome Michael and Ashley. Hello, friends.
Hello.
I just want to walk through the student experience, right? So what a typical student experience is like with the career development track at Nashville Software School.
So we start by just introducing ourselves. We do want to make students aware that, we're here as a resource. So we come in the first day that they start and introduce ourselves. And then we come in again a week later to just do a what to expect talk and just kind of go through what to expect from career development, what we're going to expect from you, and all of that. And then we'll go into creating LinkedIn profiles, how to utilize that to network, because that's probably going to be the number one way to get a job right now. So if you're not, you can learn all the tech skills you want. If you don't know how to find a job, it's not going to do you much good. And then we meet with all of the students. We have one required meeting. So at one point, all the students will meet with us at least once. We know that. And that is scheduled during class time. So the instructors carve out a time for us to be able to come in and meet with all the students, go over their LinkedIn profile and their resume revisions. But just because it's one required, I meet with some students every single week. I meet with some every 2 weeks. That's the only required one, but you can have as many as you want. As much effort as you put into your job search and meeting with us, Michael and I will match you and we will find time to meet with you. Yeah. And then once we get the resumes to an application ready resume, we do mock interviews, which we have real employers come. And these are real hiring leaders in the area, and they're interviewing as if they're interviewing someone for their company. So it's a very realistic experience. It's done via Zoom, so it's very flexible times for both the volunteers and for the students as well. And we do make sure we get a time slot that will work for the students. They're hour-long interviews. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but 45 minutes is the actual interview, and the last 15 minutes is getting direct feedback, which is the hardest thing about interviewing. You're always going to get kind of the, run-of-the-mill answer, like, we just decided to go with another candidate, or we would really like to interview you again after you get a little bit more experience, but you're not getting to the nitty-gritty of, like, what am I doing wrong in this interview? And this is an opportunity that you're actually getting that. And we also do a roundtable event where we have a lot of alumni come, and it's in the evening. It's a 2-hour event, and we divide all the alumni and working developers up, and we match them with students, and they rotate every 25 minutes. So you kind of get an opportunity to speak with everyone. This is just a great opportunity to ask the questions that, like, maybe you don't want to ask this in an interview because it's not professional, but you want to know the answer. Am I going to have an issue with X, Y, and Z? Or what are my first couple of tickets actually going to look like? What if I have to learn a new technology on the job? How did you manage that? So those types of questions that you're able to ask someone who's really been in your shoes. It is so casual and welcoming and warm that every student leaves and they're like, can we do another one of those? Like it's a very fun event, and it has been since the event started and was originally in person, but we are able to still kind of keep the love of it virtually as well.
Awesome.
And then we have demo day as well, where we get employers and people that are hiring to come in and watch people's capstones. And that often leads to an introduction to an interview process. And then we support the students after graduation until they get a job.
Yeah. Ashley pretty much covered it all, but in addition to that, all of those major events, we also bring guest speakers into class. Through the,
nice.
For the web development programs, they'll have, usually 2 guest speakers come into class and talk about various topics relating to the job search or their experience transitioning into their first job. We'll have one instance where a guest speaker comes in and does something similar with the data programs as well. Our data science program gets a leadership panel because their roundtable functions a little bit different, where their roundtable event, they get feedback on their capstone proposals from working professionals. So that they can apply that to their final project. But they get that leadership panel where they then get to have an opportunity to have an open-ended discussion with some data science leaders about those topics that are traditionally covered on the roundtable for the other programs. So yeah, really, really a lot going on, a lot of great things. And as Ashley said, we support the students throughout the entire process into their job search beyond NSS as well. So, at any given time, we have the active students we're supporting, but we have, a large amount of seekers that we're actively providing support, and they still meet and engage with us in one-on-one settings as well.
Along with meeting the students and supporting them, we also kind of have to have an ear to the ground of what's going on in the tech scene. Who's hiring? We're connecting with those employers. We're getting on phone calls with them. And what we do is when we have a job opening, we send it out through our seekers group. So anyone who hasn't gotten a job yet, they're still in that group, and we remove them after they are considered placed. So it's,
Nice.
an even playing field for everybody, being, a recent NSS alumni. But those jobs, and we send multiple jobs out through there a week, and those jobs are not just like, I found this on LinkedIn and I'm sharing it. This is, I call them qualified positions, because we've spoken to somebody at the company and they want to hire an NSS grad, so we're sending them through. So it's not just like a shot in the dark. They are looking to hire an NSS grad.
Yeah,
for sure.
I do want to also add our seeker support goes beyond our team as well. We have our program management team who's doing like lunch and learns on a weekly basis as well. So, there's multiple people within our organization who are providing that seeker support post-graduation, because really the goal, I think, for everyone on our team at NSS is for our students to get that job and to land that first position. So you'll also get emails after graduation about opportunities to connect with the broader NSS community, to come back for lunch and learns and hear about various topics to help you in your job search. And yeah, a lot of different professional development opportunities throughout the job search. It doesn't end when you're graduated.
Yeah, awesome. I want to kind of go back a little bit and talk about some of the events that you guys highlighted. Specifically, let's start with these roundtable events. So with a roundtable event, how early on in the cohort do you guys put these roundtable events on?
It's different for a part-time class and a daytime class, but for generally speaking, when they're halfway through the program, after they've done their front end capstone is typically when we do our roundtable, and it's very quickly after that. And the reason being, we want the students to also be able to feel comfortable talking about what they've built and what they've contributed. And that seems like a good point for them. So it's pretty early on. So in the daytime, that's after the first 3 months. And for the evening class, it's after the first 6 months that we're kicking in. But it is very different, I would say, than like a traditional career development team, because our curriculum is kind of built into the developer curriculum. We look at the schedule to make sure our stuff is wrapping around what they have going on. And due dates and everything are all kind of intertwined. It's not just like, come see us for help. Like, we have specific due dates um checkpoints that we have as well, so it helps everyone kind of stay engaged because we want to be as involved as students will let us be in their job
Yeah.
search.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear a lot of the time that NSS, you get out of it what you put in, and it sounds like that's the
Mhm.
same goes the same for your job search as well. Like if you're putting in the time, if you're meeting with our career development team and like using the resources that you guys provide, it's going to set them up for success.
100%.
I want to move on to the mock interviews because you mentioned that, these are a time where the students can have a real life experience with what a interview is going to be like once they get out on the job search. They're still
Mhm.
very much in boot camp, but they have now experience, like you said, they've built up these skills that they can now talk about in these interviews, and now it's just learning how to talk about them. And
Mhm.
so, would you say that these are important because we have so many job changers, right? So many people that have never done a technical interview, maybe, or an
Yeah.
interview for web development or data analytics. What kind of do you see there, and how do you prepare students for the mock interview process?
Yeah, it's a really great opportunity, as you said, to get engaged through into either a technical or a behavioral interview. Whether it be technical or behavioral, every organization runs their interviews slightly different, and we let the organizations choose how they run the interview and run it as if they were running it for their own company. I know on the data side, we go in and we give a presentation on what to expect for the mock interview event itself, walking through kind of, and throughout our programming, we talk about, how to prepare for interviews. We talk about how to prepare for those behavioral based interview questions because that's going to be
Yeah.
those types of interviews that our students are probably more familiar with and have some experience with.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, it's still hard to formulate thoughts or ideas about their experience so that they can call out specifics about their experience that they can talk about in the interview. So we kind of walk through how to best answer those questions.
Nice.
How to have specific stories about where you've excelled in your career, so that when you're answering a question, you can call out that specific and be prepared. So we walk through and share details about the event with them so that they know what they're getting into going into it. As we send
Mhm.
out the schedule as well, the students know what type of interview they're scheduled with. They'll see the name of the employer they're meeting with, the name of the individual and what company they work with, and then what type of interview it is. And we try to share as much information about the interview as possible. If it's going to be a technical interview, we try to share, is it going to be a live whiteboarding session, or is it going to be
Yeah.
more of just a general technical interview where they're asking general questions about, their technical background or their projects, things of that nature. So we
Nice.
try to share as much as possible and get that information from the employers so that the students know what they're getting going into the interview.
Another thing that we do for mock interviews is I have a guest speaker come in and talk about how to prepare for a technical interview.
Ooh.
Shout out Pat Crisco. He's been doing this talk for me for a while. He is absolutely phenomenal. But not to tell Pat's story, but prior to him doing this talk for me, he was a frequent guest as a um, mock
Nice.
interviewer. And
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of the feedback that he was getting was very similar. And so I was like, let's make a talk. And that way we can kind of get ahead of some of that feedback before that's the feedback given.
Yeah.
So we also do that as well. And Pat goes through behavioral, different types of interviews. One thing I really like is explaining that at some point of every interview, you're probably going to get to a question that you don't know, and that's normal. Don't let that trip you up or
Yeah.
fumble the rest of your interview because that's normal. They're expecting you to get to this point. Um, so yeah, we also have that talk as well.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk now about Demo Day and how you guys prepare students for, their final presentation before they graduate, and what kind of things that you tell the students to maybe temper nerves or to explain, like what they should keep in mind before their own virtual Demo Day experience.
I think a lot of it comes down to reminding them that these individuals are coming to see their work because they want to meet with them. They want to see
Mhm.
what they've accomplished here at NSS. A lot of our employers who are coming are intentional with attending because they're looking to hire junior level talent, and they're interested in seeing, you know, their capstone applications and their projects and what they've done here at NSS. Another thing that I've heard one of our instructors, I can't remember who, say when I was doing my demo day talk with one of the classes, was just remember that, you know, it's like presenting to one of your instructors. You know, our instructors are super awesome and are the ones who are guiding our students through that capstone
Mhm.
process and reviewing the capstones as they're working on them. And our instructors are industry professionals as well. So if you think about it as you're presenting to an instructor, someone that you're comfortable with, it's a similar individual, someone who has a similar background to your instructor. So yes, it's intimidating anytime you're going to be in front of a potential employer or you know, a hiring manager. You're going to have those nerves, but just remember you're presenting to someone like your instructor. You've presented this project to your instructors already. So you can go in and present it to this employer as well and ace it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ashley, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do think that our instructors really prepare them well for that, because just to be approved, their capstone, for it to be approved at the end, you know, they're asking them those same type of questions of, okay, well, why did you use this tool? You know, what did you implement here? All those types of questions. So they're prepared to answer any question thrown at them. If they graduate, they are prepared to answer any question.
Yeah.
But it's also just so funny, just because Michael and I work with getting the employers. I can't tell you how many employers come on to demo day and they're nervous too. I mean, I think
Yeah.
not even it's just having a conversation with someone you've never talked to can be nerve-wracking for people. But the employers are nervous too. So I always tell the student, don't worry, everyone's nervous here. We've got this. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for all the things that you do, all the services you provide our students here at Nashville Software School. I know that you guys have a busy day of one-on-ones scheduled ahead of you, so I'll
yes.
let you go. But thank you guys for taking some time out to chat.
Yeah. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks so much for listening. Hear more insights like these when you visit NashvilleSoftwareSchool.com.